This is the Bonus Section Podcast, episode number 63, How to Defeat the Resistance. Are you the type of person that knows you were meant for something greater in this lifetime, and that somewhere inside of you, there's just this bigger version of yourself trying to break through? But in spite of all your self-development, you just can't seem to find the way up and out. Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Bonus Section and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you, trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. Now, to help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, we take all the notes from each episode and we post them for a brief period of time over at freethinkingtools.com. That's freethinkingtools.com. So get over there, grab a copy of the notes, sit down with your favorite dinner, glass of wine, a beer, or just a glass of water, and think your way to a better life, okay? All right, how to defeat the resistance. Number one point is here. What is the resistance? What do you mean? Well, Stephen Pressfield wrote a fabulous book called The War of Art. And in that book, he refers to the personification of resistance. In my world, I imagine the resistance is this personified thing that waits for me at the end of my bed. It lets me go to sleep for a little while, but when I wake up, it's there saying, come on, buddy, let's go. In other words, it is going to be the challenge of the day or the multiple challenges of the day. And oftentimes we fret, we say, does it ever get any easier? We moan. And the truth is no, because there is always some resistance to life. The struggle is real, as the saying goes, right? And that's true. That's just the human condition. But it's where does this resistance come from? What is this thing that we have, and why does it happen? And really, the point is it's internal. It's something that's internal. So Pressfield talks about this thing that's internal, and we create it and we feed it. It's like a monster. We make it happen. And really all of us have it. Nobody's immune from having the resistance. So that made me think a lot this week about what is it? Is it always, resistance is such a negative word oftentimes that I started to wonder, is it really a negative? And really, where does it come from? And maybe what if it's a helpful thing? Maybe that's the little thorn in your side that you're supposed to have all the time to be creating this better version of yourself. So after thinking for it, I started to think about, I talk a lot about on this podcast, the animal brain. You see, the animal brain is that part of us that just wants to survive. Think about the lion that you see on TV, or if you've been to safari, awesome. You see them just lying there. You know, you go to like the animal kingdom at Disney World, and all the animals are just lying around. You're like, come on, do something. Somebody attack somebody. Something happened. And that's our own animal brain wanting to see the action. And we want to see there's something intriguing about watching animals survive. It's a little bit gruesome. It's a little bit harsh when you watch all on social media, all animals attacking each other and eating each other. It's harsh. But that's really what we are too. I mean, we're animals, and we are designed to survive and propagate and keep going on with the species, survival of the fittest type of thing, and that's what the inner animal is. But I started to wonder, as much as that animal helps us survive and drives us, isn't the animal also the one that's screwing around with the thermostat? And when we want to turn up the heat on our lives, and we want to do more with our lives, and we want to go beyond survival, we want to thrive, isn't it the animal that keeps turning it down? Well, what do I mean? I mean, it's pretty simple. Your animal brain will expend only the amount of calories it needs to go out, get fed, and sleep. That's it. It's only trying to do the basics, and that's the right thing. It's supposed to do that. And that's why you're able to survive. And a lot of you that might be listening to this that are frustrated that, life just seems to be, not exciting and things aren't happening. Yes, because the animal in your brain keeps setting the thermostat to just enough. That's what it is. You feel like you have just enough. Yes, I know you're stressed out and you're in debt or whatever, but it's just enough. Our whole society is developed to make sure, at least in modern world countries where there's a safety net, it's hard to fail. So we even make sure that the animal is served by society. We have this animalistic approach in our society. We have to make sure that everybody just barely survives. It's this humanistic thing, but it's animalistic too, because it's just enough. So I started to think to myself, the second point here is, how do you learn how to tame that inner animal? to stop doing that. Can you? So if you think about the resistance that you have, and imagine the resistance is, you're running a business and you know that you're supposed to make outbound calls to try to get new business. Or maybe you're an athlete and you know that you're supposed to get up at 6 a.m. and you're supposed to go and you're supposed to skate. Or you're supposed to go to, drama practice at 9 o'clock at night and take that class because that's the only time you can get there after work. And that resistance shows up and says, whoa, what do we need that for, man? I'm tired. We worked all day. We barely got enough sleep. Don't do that. So it's really interesting that the animal is there. It personifies as a resistance, which turns out to be a safety mechanism to protect you. But now we got to find a way to sneak up there on that animal. Or we have to sell that animal that there might be a better way. In Pressfield's other book, and I'm using both of these books to teach my mastermind members, I coach some high-end real estate agents in my business, and the idea is about turning pro. See, the amateur hour is just to set the thermostat in our lives and just live this amateurish life that we just barely get by. And we have these shadow careers that he refers to that allows us to, just maybe go through the motions at a job to keep ourselves fed. And we're good at it, but it's really a shadow career. So he challenges us to turn pro. And turning pro is that click to take on the resistance. But sometimes when you fight the resistance, it's really good and it's really powerful and it can continue. You might win for a week. So you might think you can get yourself all fired up and you can change your state with Tony Robbins jumping up on the stairs. And then you wonder why when you go home, it doesn't work. Because in that room where everything's exciting and it happens and it's inspirational, I can do that. I could inspire you. You want me to give you a fire and brimstone speech on this podcast? I'll make you jump out of your skin excited. You'll walk through a brick wall after I'm done with you. But what happens after that? You need strategies. And the concept of turning pro really starts off by saying, well, what do I want to turn pro in? What is it that's burning inside of me to become? Or maybe you're already in the career, but you're just sort of going through the motions. Maybe you are an actress and you're just sort of just getting the working, you're the working actor. Right? Why not the pro? Because the resistance tells you, oh my gosh, you could never be a pro. Just like, shh. You've got this agent who just keeps getting you those steady gigs and it's good. You're making a living doing acting and you can tell all your friends you're an actor. You got to figure out how to break through that. So here's what I would say. What I've learned is that systems and strategies are the things that pros come up with, or their coaches come up with for them and, sell them on it and train them to become systematic and organized and self-disciplined. Those are all the words of what it's like to become a pro. You can't just keep doing this on muscle like the lion. You wake up, you're hungry, you run out, you'll kill, you'll come home, you sleep, and expect to turn pro. That's not really a good strategy. So I think you can sell the inner animal. Say, shh. Just be quiet for a little bit, inner lion, and stop resisting me. Stop roaring at me every time I want to thrive. Let me see if I can figure out a little bit more of a systematic approach. What if I could reorganize the time that I do my main job and buy a little bit more time to work on a strategy to do the main job easier? Can I grow time? See, I found this in my life, turning pro as a real estate agent. I mean, you would have thought I was pro already. You say, well, what are you talking about? You were a top producer since almost the first year you were in the business. And isn't that pro? Nope. Was super amateur hour. In fact, I coach a lot of top producers, quote unquote, that are amateurs. I see a lot of very talented athletes and actresses and business people. I see all of this. And I can tell you the pro versus the amateur. The pro has something different about them. They're very methodical. And it's not that they were born that way. They became that. And I'm going to make that point in a second, that everybody has challenges becoming a pro. You weren't born that way. Maybe you were born with some physical talents or interests. I think you're more so born with a really driving interest to be something, and that helps you focus on turning pro. But the pro really, think about pro athletes. Baseball players, especially during the World Series, they're out there taking batting practice the day of the World Series game. Well, wait a minute. Haven't they been doing that since they were 3? Yes, but that's their system. See, the pro always sticks to the system. The pro is always self-disciplined. That's how they got there. You look at some people that are professional in anything and say, how did they ever get there? Because they knew what turning pro meant. They knew that if they could come up with a strategy and a system and they could repeat it, the distinctions in their brain were being made. And more importantly, they're diminutizing the resistance. They're convincing the inner animal, look, you want to sleep and you only want to go after it when you want to go after it. But I'm going to prove to you something, that when you're strategic, Mr. Inner Lion, Mr. Inner Resistance, you're going to actually expend less calories getting what you want. Now, in my world in business, that became extremely true. I can give you an example. When I go to meet with a seller in the past, being more like that animal, just trying to win so I could survive and get a sale and I could take money home, I became strategic. And what used to take me 2 hours suddenly was taking me 45 minutes. And my inner animal said, how? What? This is incredible. Do you know how to do more of this? Said my inner animal. And the pro began to say, yes, just give me a little bit more time. Don't nip at my heels when I spend time now every week, every day, becoming more of a pro, looking for more micro strategies, searching for that self-discipline in a system to do this thing. Now, let me just say this. It's pretty clear, right? That the resistance is within. Perhaps it's the inner animal that's saying, you can't do all that because we've got to survive. So you start turning pro by sneaking up on the animal and proving that systems and methodologies and clarity buys time and burns less calories. However, that's a process. It's not an event. I know Pressfield says you'll remember the day you turned pro. Maybe you'll remember this day when we talked about it. But there's such thing, and Maxwell Maltz, one of my faves, in psychocybernetics, talks about the snapback effect. And especially somebody, it's like he talks about it like a rubber band. Somebody that thinks they're going to do something like this on willpower alone is going to snap back to their original form like an elastic. And that's going to happen. So this is really more of that process of convincing your inner animal who's resisting you to expend calories that there is a better way, that together you're winning. So that what you're actually doing is not willing yourself to a better result. You're actually becoming truly somebody who's more professional, saving time and getting a better result in less time. That's that act. And it's not just the snapback when you do it on willpower. It's also procrastination. You can listen to this. Tim Urban does a fabulous TED Talk on procrastination. He's wildly entertaining. Look up the TED Talk on YouTube. Procrastination, Tim Urban. It's just wonderful stuff. And he makes a fabulous point that for some reason, we'll just continue to procrastinate. And that's why I'm doing a podcast like this. I could have started with the word procrastination, but you'll understand it as a thing that everybody has and does. And that's that resistance who procrastinates us trying to thrive, because we don't ever talk about how. We always are great as human beings at analyzing the procrastination and snapbacks and resistance. All this thing is there, but how? Right? You have to learn that procrastination comes typically because you really don't know how. If you knew the how, then you could probably expend the energy to break through. So learning to tame that inner animal by proving to it that turning pro and being more systematic in turning pro really can say, wow, that's interesting. I don't need to procrastinate anymore. As I sit here recording this podcast, it's pitch black outside. I've had a full day, but my discipline says you're a pro now. You have to deliver this content every single week. You've already written it. Don't procrastinate it till tomorrow. Do it now. And like that, I'm done, right? And the inner animal has burned less calories than he would if he just did this on muscle. And by the way, there's a formula in front of me. You see, when you're a pro and you can do 3 podcasts, it's because you went through this. See, I'm living authentically what I'm preaching here. So let me go back and repeat this. So hopefully this message gets through to you. How to defeat the resistance. Well, what is the resistance? In Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, he personifies this internal thing that's waiting for you at the end of your bed in my world every day to resist you from thriving. So the second point is you have to learn how to tame your inner animal, who really is that resistance, because the resistance comes from wanting to save the calories just to survive and set the thermostat on just enough. So how do you do that? 3, you turn pro. And by turning pro, or how to turn pro, you start to build things into systems. And systems allow you to be more self-disciplined. And ultimately, 4, systems and turning pro help you diminutize your snapbacks. Don't do this on willpower. And definitely start to eliminate procrastination. Pros very rarely procrastinate. All right, I'll summarize it this way by saying the main challenge in life that prevents us from getting the life that we want is our own inner resistance that is derived from our inner animal and its desire to do the least amount to survive. Ultimately, if you can convince your animal that a more professional approach is going to, in the long run, give you more of a life beyond just more survival, then you're really talking about a pretty good life there. All right, let me say this. Remember, you can take immediate action to get moving in this better strategic direction because we take notes from these episodes and they're organized for you so that you can sit down and you can start to think about turning pro by being organized about thinking about systems for your life. Don't keep just going through the motions. Don't just keep trying to get paid each week and then put food on the table and not thrive. So those notes are sitting for you at freethinkingtools.com. We leave them, just a couple episodes up for a short period of time. Also, don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen, or find us on any of our social media channels for the bonus section. And that way you won't miss out on any episodes. We'd also appreciate it if you would join our mission of becoming people for others and share our content with other people just like you so that they get the help that they need. But remember this, I sign off the same way on all 3 of my podcasts. Nobody is coming for you. Nobody, no cavalry, no white horse, okay? Nobody's coming for you. So go get to work on yourself and a better plan for your life, and we'll see you in the next episode to provoke you to do just that. Thanks again.